Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the 11th Annual Women of Valor. I'm Todd Salovey, the Associate Artistic Director of San Diego Repertory Theater and the Artistic Director of the Lipinsky Family San Diego Jewish Arts Festival.
My name is Ali Viterbi, and I'm the Associate Producer of the festival and the Director and co-writer of this year's Women of Valor.
Every year, we donate all the ticket proceeds of Women of Valor to Jewish charities in San Diego. This year, our beneficiaries are the 3 Jewish high schools, as well as the San Diego Jewish Community COVID-19 Emergency Fund. You can donate generously by clicking on the link at the end of this video.
This year's honorees teach us how we can be together, even virtually, in community. And we hope that through hearing their stories of joy, of grief, of commitment to their community, and of courage, we can all weather this storm together.
Tonight, we honor Sharleen Wollach. Thank you so much for watching, and please enjoy A Woman of Valor.
Sakani otzocher mimech ktav ilachma chagra ve'oz matneha vate'amet zerateha.
A woman of valor, who shall find?
She is more precious than pearls.
She seeks out wool and flax and cheerfully does the work of her hands.
She is like trading ships, bringing food from afar.
She gets up while it is still night to provide for her household.
She invests herself with strength, and her arms are powerful.
She opens up her hands to the poor and reaches out to the needy.
Eshet Chayil Miimsa, a woman of valor, who shall find?
Looking at my calendar, I'm seeing my 10:30 appointment said, "Are you ready yet?" My 11 o'clock appointment says, "Ready when you are." My 11:15 says, "Are we still doing 11:15?" I'm like, nope. You have to be able to say, I'm doing something else meaningful right now. I always start with, what are you going to do for someone today? I have a very eclectic background in life. I like to say that I was manufactured in South Africa and assembled in the USA. I was born and raised in Durban, which is a small port town similar to San Diego. I went to a Jewish day school for my entire schooling. And then while I was in college, I came over to the States for a 6-week fun trip. I was supposed to come with a friend, and my friend decided that she had a boyfriend at the time who might not wait for her, so she bailed. So I came by myself, and it was 6 weeks that changed my life. I went back and announced I was going to emigrate to the States. So, what was my parents' reaction? First, they were nervous I was going to go the next day. I have energy that just goes. But they weren't shocked because they already had one child living here. But what my father did that I thought was very prophetic, he said, I'm going to live where my grandchildren will be. My parents had to give up everything in South Africa and come and start over here in the States. Things in South Africa were very unsettled and very difficult. I lived during the apartheid days. We lived a very insular life. Everything was restricted. There were rules for all of our lives. Nobody of any racial color could integrate with anyone of Caucasian race. And the lifestyle I had led kept me in this little bubble. I went to a Jewish day school and I lived in my little neighborhood and I had my little friends and I went to my little college and I lived a very limited lifestyle. But still great. I mean, we had a fantastic youth in South Africa. Safe. We would ride our bikes, we'd be out and about like it was safe. Even despite that strange existence, we had this, what might even be perceived as an artificial safety or a sort of autocratic safety, because everybody else had to leave the city. People of color would come in during the day to work, and they'd have to leave the city at night. When I was working at a travel agency in South Africa, my first job there was a young man of color, and he worked in the accounting department, and I was in management. I wanted to invite him to have lunch because he had done a project that was very good, but we were not allowed to have lunch together. We were not allowed to go to a restaurant. We weren't even allowed to have lunch together in the office. So we devised this plan to where I would get us takeout meals. And I would sit on that side of the desk and he would sit on this side of the desk and we would have the door open. How bizarre does that sound today? And I was like, I cannot wait to get out of here. It was absolutely a moment in my life where I said, I gotta change. Let's go back for a minute. My very first job, was my very first sales position was when I was very little. I was probably 8 or 10 years old, and I would take the half-used Shabbat candles because we used to blow them out so they wouldn't burn down the house. Half-used Shabbat candles and colored crayons, and I would melt them together and put them in a coffee can with a string, and I made the most beautiful colored candles, layered, and I sold them to the neighbors, right? Maybe pennies. Then when I was 12, almost 13, I worked at a little chicken takeout counter, and they served rotisserie chicken, curry chicken, chicken pieces, and chicken this and everything chicken. One day, the lady who ran the joint said to me, "Do you mind watching the store while I go take my kids to soccer?" I was really 13 years old. And when she came back, she said, "You've done such a good job. Can you manage the store on weekends?" So I was like that. My family would tease me because I became like a manager of a store when I was 13. To me, I was serving others. In my entire life, I have never written a resume, never had a CV, because I've been recruited for every single one of my positions. Isn't that something? I've had a working career of 40 solid years, never had a resume. I've been so fortunate to just sort of land in positions that have allowed me to grow. I became a salesperson at a travel agency, and then my mom ended up buying a travel agency, and I went to work for her for a few years. So I now have kids and a business helping my mom. And in 1996, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 36 years old. I had 2 young children. I just think that people who say, "Oh, these things happen for a reason, and God only gives you as much as you can bear, and God will watch out for you," all of that stuff is such hogwash when at the end of the day you're sick. It is such hogwash. And so while still doubting that notion of if you're a good person, you'll be rewarded, you do go through these moments of why me? Why my mother who was before me? Even with faith, I'm not going to make it. And yet at the same time you say, well, maybe if I have faith, I might make it. And I think my faith was less spiritual than it was my faith in people. I think what happens is that when you have a diagnosis that requires every piece of your soul and every piece of your being to manage and to survive, everything else seems less important, including faith. I remember that I'd lost all my hair because of chemo, but many people didn't even know because I went to a special place where they made me a wig to look exactly the same as my hair. But the day that I went without a wig, and I had little tiny hair just recovering, the very first thing that I went to was a shul gala. 400 people in a room. And the first time someone is going to see you with no hair. Now, who does that? But you realize that no matter how you look, you made it. And the community is going to support you. The way the community stood by me and supported our family during that time provided me this gratitude that has exuded in my life. Gratitude fuels everything. It's easy to do good if you come to it with gratitude. So I think my faith was tested. But maybe it didn't win. I think I always just felt that I need to press on. I have a bias for action. You know, there's the saying that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I have a different philosophy. I say, when the going gets tough, the tough get busy. So I get busy. I poured myself into community. I've been a volunteer for decades, helping at SDJA, serving meals to the homeless, and doing blanket and clothes collections for those living in cars. I've worked for the Jewish Community Foundation now 11 years in May. I think about what an honor it is to work, and I don't say these words lightly. Doing good for the community is in my DNA. My job at the foundation permits me to do that every day. What a gift to know that I can give back to this community in these remarkable ways, particularly now due to COVID. Those organizations that had been doing this for generations today are much more solid. And I'm hopeful that COVID will give us a reminder of how important it is to plan for the unexpected, but how important it is also to look forward, to rebuild, and to recognize the value of Jewish life. We say, and I believe it in my heart, the work we do philanthropically is not because they're Jewish. It's because we are. We do it because we're Jewish. We believe in leaving this world a better place for those to come. And we definitely cannot do that alone. I think that what makes me happy is being with people. I'm also a summer person, so I'm very happy with the warm weather. I'm a huge boogie boarder. This is a secret that most people don't know. For the last 15 to 20 years, there's 3 of us who boogie board most of the day on Sundays. Big, heavy, big waves like proper surfing boogie boards. If you know me, you know exactly where I am every Sunday in the summertime. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I had a second episode of breast cancer back in 2003. But I survived. I got through a terrible, life-threatening illness. Sought passion, enthusiasm. I weathered every storm. I raised 2 great children. My kids are good people. I always said, like, until they're 13, I'm teaching them how to wipe your nose. And after that, I teach you to be a mensch. The rest is up to you. So their dad and I raised mensches. Just knowing that even under the worst possible of circumstances, you can get through it with courage and bravery and the good foot forward attitude. My sister always teases me that, you know that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And the question, phone a friend. She says that I'm her phone a friend. If there's anything she needs, she calls me and says, I'm calling for phone a friend. And I love that. I'm happy to serve in that way. I used to say when I go to bed every night, and I still do this sometimes, have I done something meaningful for someone else today? If I haven't had a good day. Have I done something meaningful for someone else today?
פיה פתחה בחכמה ותורה חסד על לשונה סופיה הליכות ביתה ולחם עוד סלוגות תאכל קמו פניה וישרוה בעלה ויחד Halela rabot banot asuchayil ve'atalit al kulana.
If I can help someone have a better day, that brings me happiness.
Having a really fun dinner with my family. Singing. Putting together a really great strategic plan for an organization. Taking a walk on a beautiful day. That makes me happy.
I do a lot of walking too. I think it helps me with my stress.
I'm a huge summer person, so I'm very happy with the warm weather and very happy to be swimming at the beach.
Our foster kittens make me happy. One of them is named Danny, and he has allergies and stomach issues. So we say it's like our first Jewish cat. And since quarantine started, we fostered chickens and puppies and kittens. I just keep thinking if I get the right formula of animal, my kids will behave.
I find a lot of joy in my family. My dad still lives with us here, so we watch a lot of Yankee baseball. Listening to him, who grew up in the Bronx, yell at the players as he's watching them on TV makes me happy.
It doesn't take much, actually. It's the little things, like my granddaughter calling me, or one of the kids texting, a successful meeting, a bike ride, a walk, everything.
Some of the stuff that I get to do at work brings me a lot of joy. I mean, taking chiefs and sheriffs to Israel. I had a chief recently say to me at a Shabbat dinner in Israel, "You know, I bet in my community there are Jewish people doing Shabbat every Friday night, and I had no idea." And I'm like, yes, and they would be happy to invite you so that you can join them.
I always look on the bright side. I tell you, I have a friend, and she's always looking for Zuris, you know? And I says, you get up in the morning, be happy that you get out of bed. You're in your 80s, you're taking care of yourself, you live in a nice place, you have a nice friend. Why are you complaining? Why don't you go out and say, thank God I'm another day here?